myself Funny. Today we are going to start our course on financial awareness. Financial awareness is very important for bank examinations. Not only for your bank examinations, at the same time, this financial awareness is very important for your interview level and in order to understand the daily newspapers. Okay, so financial awareness includes banking, stock exchange, stock market, insurance, evolution of banking, and all these areas. Today, we are going to start this financial awareness session with the history of banking. What is banking? What was the background of banking? And all these areas, all these topics, we are going to discuss in this session. Okay? So our new topic, the topic number 1 is history of banking in India. So many of us thought that the concept of banking activities was introduced by the Europeans. This was totally a wrong conception. Banking awareness in India is traced back from ancient times. So before the advent of Europeans, we, the Indians, have the knowledge in banking, bank related activities, exchange of bills, transactions, bills of exchange, everything. So if you date the banking transactions in the ancient history is totally different. Imagine the days where we don't have financial transactions, economic transactions, we don't have ATMs, we don't have paper currency, we don't have proper channel, proper printing press, how the people of ancient and medieval India continued their financial transactions. Now, in the history of banking, we are going to deal with those areas. So we have collected some evidences that the people of ancient India have sound knowledge in banking. The terms which were mentioned in Rig Veda, Buddhist inscriptions, Ashokan inscriptions, like Mauryan inscriptions, from all these inscriptions, we collected the evidences that the banking knowledge is aware of Indians. So Indians are aware of this banking knowledge. Okay, we'll deal with the evidences of those banking terminology, banking terms, banking activities, and what are the modes. Right. The first one, banking in ancient India. Already I told you the people of ancient India are aware of bank transactions, banking activities. So first, the banking transactions, the evidences were traced from Vedic age. See, during Vedic age, the terms, here we go, the terms Runapatra and Runalekha were prevailed. We got these evidences from Rig Veda. So what are these Runapatra and Runalekha? These were loan deeds. Okay, so the term loan deed means it is a loan document which contains the details of the amount of loan, what is the interest rate, what is the repayment date. All these things we can discuss, we can mention in this loan deeds. The terms Runapatra and Runalekha, these two terms were mentioned in Rig Veda. These two evidences we collected from Rig Vedic scriptures. So let's have a quick discussion on Runapatra. Runapatra or Runalekha. Patra means a document, Lekha means letter. We can assume this could be a loan document or loan letter which consists of the amount of loan taken, what is the interest rate, what is the period of return. All these things they have discussed in these two documents. Next, the practice of usury was prevalent in India during Vedic period. Usury is nothing but money lending. So the money lending activity, which is an important activity of the modern day banking, if you observe, we got the evidences that during Vedic age, we are involved in money lending activities. The money lender was called usurer. Usury is nothing but money lending. The Vedic word Kusidin refers to a usurer. Usurer is a money lender. Already I told you. So they have used the term Kusidin for money lender. So from these evidences, we can conclude that the people of Vedic age are aware of banking activities, bank and lending activities. And Kautilya's Arthashastra, which is very important, modern economic treatise, which is very important, not only an economic treatise but also a political treatise. It was written by Kautilya. So in his Arthashastra, he mentions usage of financial instruments called Adesha. Now, what is financial instrument? What is financial instrument? So financial instrument, called Adesha. Okay, similar to bill of exchange. Bill of exchange is nothing but mode of payment and all. Mode of payment and all. Okay, so this bill of exchange we already aware we call bill of exchange also hundi. Now it is called bill of exchange. But during Mauryan age, the term Adesha was used for bill of exchanges. These terms are very important not only for your financial awareness but also the same terms you can expect in general studies also. See, there are some money lenders which we used to call them as Shroff, Seth, Shaukars, Shetties were the local business and money lenders. So if you observe these terms, some of these terms we are already aware. See, Shetties, they are from South India, Shaukars, Seth, Shroffs. These people were the money lenders and businessmen of ancient India. They used to lend money to the people who are in need and they'll charge some interest rate. They used to carry the business of banks. So the same thing what we discussed. So the modern banks, whatever the activities are performing, whatever the activities performing by today's modern banks, the same activities were performed by these businessmen whom we call Shroff, Seths, Shaukar and Shetties. Inapana loan deeds during the Buddhist period. The term is very very important for your examination. Inapana loan deeds. What is a loan deed? Already I told you. Loan deed is a document which consists of the details of the loan, who has taken the loan, how much amount, what is the interest rates. All these things contains in the loan deed. So the term loan deed was a modern term. The same term loan deed during Buddhist period, the term loan deed was termed as inapana. Inapana is a loan deed. Banking in medieval India. See, in the first session, I already told you, in the first slide, I already told you, banking, the Indians, our Indians are aware of banking technology, banking activities. It is a misconception that Europeans introduced banking to India. Before the advent of the Europeans, we already have the knowledge of banking. In the first 2 or 3 slides, we discussed the banking activities in the ancient India, the terminologies. Now we are in the medieval India. In medieval India, what are the banking activities? What are the terms that takes place? Students or aspirants are already aware the medieval Indian part was ruled by Delhi Sultanate, Mughal period, Mughal. So they were collectively called Muslim kingdoms. So the loan terms which you can expect in the Persian or Arabic language because because it was ruled by Muslim kingdoms. So if you observe the banking terminologies in the medieval India, majority of the terms are from Arabic, Persian, Turkish also. Okay, these terms. If you see what are the banking terminologies in medieval India. So Dastevas. Daste is nothing but document. Dastevas are the loan deeds. Again, loan deeds. So we can conclude that loan deeds were prevalent in India before the advent of Europeans. So the term Dastevas was used for loan deeds under Mughal rules. Dasta is nothing but documents. So probably that is a document which contains the loan details of the person, how much loan, at what is the rate of interest, and when he will return. All these things were mentioned in this Dasteva. Sorry, this Dastevas. Next, in Mughal period, we have the evidence of foreign travelers. This is very important, very interesting also. See, foreign travelers. Imagine when you are going to a new country or a new place, there the currency will be different. Now you have foreign exchanges, foreign reserves, and all these things. So you can continue, you can withdraw money through Western Union money transfer or something. Imagine those were the days where you don't have digital transactions, where you don't have ATMs, where you don't have checks. Already you people are aware that many of the foreign travelers came to India for the purpose of education, research, invasion, could be anything. Okay, how they used to perform the transactions, what is the mode of the transactions? Have you ever think that in a country, in a vast country like India, is the mode of currency is same? Do we have any unified currency like how we are in the present, in the modern day we are using rupee? Is there any unique currency, uniform currency? No. Okay, but how foreign travelers came to India? If they want to purchase something from India, what is the mode of transaction? Okay, so in Mughal period we have the evidence of foreign travelers regarding the use of bills of exchange. What is a bill of exchange? What is a bill of exchange? See, this is the bill of exchange image. It is, you can say, you can compare this bill of exchange with the current day check. These are the details. You can take this bill of exchange, you can carry this bill of exchange when you are going to some other place. You can show this bill of exchange to the concerned authorities like banks, and you can withdraw your money. So the purpose of bill of exchange is, it is more or less equal to check. On submitting this one, on showing this particular document called bill of exchange, you can collect the money from that particular place. So they all have some unified setup, so that they have proper communication. With this bill of exchange, they used to collect money for to meet their expenses. See, during Muslim rule, Baratas presented checks. Yeah, Baratas. Baratas are present a check. What is a check? A check is a negotiable instrument. What? Check is a negotiable instrument. You can issue a check to any person whom you want to pay. Now, this bill of exchange, and next one is Baratas check. So, under Muslim rule, so in the medieval India, Indians are already have the knowledge of check. Okay, these checks were called barrettes. Present day check were in use. So we already have the knowledge of checks. See the image of hundi. This is the image of hundi. You can see this image. Now, banking in modern India. Banking in modern India. Modern India means after advent of Europeans, you can collectively call that period as modern India. The first phase was called ancient India. Second phase is called medieval India. Third phase is modern India. Modern India in the sense that advent of Europeans, modernization took place. So modernization in the sense industrial revolution, okay, European knowledge, etc. All these things made this modern world. Okay, so after 16th century, 16th to 17th century, we are entered into the modern world. Hence, we are calling this as banking in modern India. So modern India is nothing but after the advent of Europeans. When Europeans came to India, they introduced new techniques. They want to change the entire structure of banking what were in use already. So when these Europeans came, they introduced some new techniques to Indian banking system. So in the modern Indian level, we have used the word bank. Okay, bank, exactly, the bank. Previously we used different terminologies. Kusidin for money lenders, documents, dastewaj, loan deed, different term. Okay, all these terms were different and they were in local language. After the advent of Europeans, they have introduced the new terminologies in banking. Okay, so the term bank, even though it is a German origin called bench or something, so the modern techniques which was bought by Europeans is very important. The techniques, the methods which we are enjoying today, which we are using today, is because of advent of Europeans. Okay, see, if you see the banking history in India, in the year 1770, Bank of Hindustan were set up. Bank of Hindustan, we can arrive at an opinion that Bank of Hindustan is the first bank which was set up in India. So this started in 1770, they set up Bank of Hindustan. Starting period of banks in India. This is the first bank in India. See, checks were introduced by the bank. Check. What is a check? A check is a negotiable instrument. Okay, so in check transactions, two parties are involved, one the issuer, one the receiver. Okay, issuer will issue the check, the receiver take the check, and he'll approach the bank in order to collect his money. So Bank of Hindustan was the first bank to introduce checks in India. Also, it is the first bank and is the first bank to introduce checks in India. Next, post bills. Post bills, these are promissory note. Okay, in the year 1827, Britishers introduced post bills in India. So what is a post bill? Post bill is nothing but a promissory note which we are already using in the modern day. I promise to pay, you are taking the money. It is a kind of document, okay, like a surety document. So promissory note is nothing but, here in the promissory note you will see the names of the payer, receiver, amount, interest, return payment duration. All these things were mentioned in this promissory note. So in the year 1827, post bills equivalent to promissory notes were introduced by the Britishers. In the year 1839, buying and selling of bills of exchange. Okay, in the year 1839, buying and selling of bills and exchanges were conducted by Bank of Bengal. Okay, now what is this bills of exchange? Already I told you in the previous slide, bills of exchange is a document, is a letter where when you are going to some different place, you can approach this Bank of Bengal. Okay, you can pay the cash, you can take the bill of exchange, and you can go to the some other place, you can go to some other place, and there you can find this Bank of Bengal branch. You can show that bill of exchange to the concerned branch, you can collect your money. Because holding that much, holding heavy amount during those days was not right. You may, like, due to the robbers and other things, they approach this method. Okay, handling so much of cash in the hand is not safe every time. So they adopted a new method called bills of exchange. These bills of exchange you can take from this particular branch. Imagine you can take from Andhra Pradesh or some other branch. Okay, and when you are going to some other places like North India or South India, where you can find this Bank of Bengal, you can find this Bank of Bengal, you can go to that bank, you can collect by submitting this bills of exchange. Okay, next, 1861 paper currency. Yeah, this is very very important. Yeah, what is this paper currency? Before 1861, okay, coins were used, coins were in circulation. Okay, the first known coins in India were punch marked coins. Punch marked coins, those coins were in circulation. Before punch marked coins, barter system was prevailed. Barter system is no involvement of cash, no involvement of coins, simply exchange of goods. Suppose if you have 2 kgs of it, I'm in need of 1 kg of rice, just we are exchanging. Okay, so wheat to rice, wheat to rice. Okay, barter system. In barter system there is no involvement of cash, currency or money, nothing. Okay, now after barter system we introduced into the coins age. Punchmark coins, gold coins, silver coins, copper coins, etc. Coins were in circulation. Now after the advent of Europeans and probably during the British period, this paper currency was introduced. Now what is the advantage of paper currency? Paper currency is very thin, very thin. You can hold with good amount. Okay, you can carry huge amount of cash with you without any problem. You can fold that currency in your pocket. Imagine, is it easy for you to carry 100 rupee coins in your pocket or a single 100 rupee note? It's up to you. Okay, so in the same way, the mode of carrying is very very convenient in paper currency. So in the year 1861, Britishers introduced paper currency in India, even which is in use even today. It made the government of India the monopoly of note issue. See, monopoly of note issue. Monopoly is nothing. What is monopoly? Monopoly is only single user. Mono means single. Okay, mono means single, only one. Monopoly. Okay, so according to this act, okay, paper currency issue act, paper currency act in the year 1861, according to this paper currency act, no other authority or organization cannot issue paper currency in India except government of India. Exactly what RBI is doing today. Except RBI, no other organization or institution can issue paper currency in India. So the same function of RBI, what even RBI performing today, previously it was performed by government of India. So this 1861, when paper currency act made, this is the monopoly right of government of India to issue currencies. Right? Next, in the year 1881, the Negotiable Instrument Act was enacted. Enacted means making. Okay. So what is a negotiable instrument? Example of negotiable instrument is check. A check is a negotiable instrument. Okay, so in the year 1881, the Negotiable Instrument Act was made. Why this act made? Okay, there should be some guidelines when you are dealing with some mode of payments like check or cash. The act make it's concrete. The act made it concrete. It is nothing but guidelines, do's and don'ts. So when this Negotiable Instrument Act in the year 1881 was made, they issued guidelines for checks. Who can issue check? What is the maximum amount? What is the period? What is the duration? Mode of payment? Everything it was mentioned in this Negotiable Instrument Act. The act already which is in use even today. Right? We move to next slide. Now, evolution of banks in India. Evolution. What is evolution? Evolution is nothing but changing from one form to other form. Okay, human evolution from primates to humans, Homo sapiens. In the same way, evolution of banks in India. Now, bank. So, banks did not evolve overnight. Banks did not evolve overnight. There are some stages where banks are keep on changing their structure, nature, everything, mode of activities also. Okay, so evolution of banks in India means we are comparing. We have seen the banks in ancient India. Those are mostly unorganized. What you have seen, medieval India, now modern India. So in modern India, we are going to discuss banks which are changing their nature, which are converting themselves from unorganized nature to organized nature. Systematically how they changed. So evolution of banks in India. In the year 1806, Bank of Calcutta was founded. Okay, in the year 1806, Bank of Calcutta was founded. Why only in Calcutta? Why not in other states, other parts of the country? Okay, during the British, three important cities were very there under British. Three cities were very important. Those were Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras. These three cities have commercial importance under British. They are also called as presidencies. So Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras were of strategic importance. So under British, these three states or cities were developed. Okay, in order to protect their commercial interest. Okay, hence the commercial transactions were more in West Bengal region. So, in order to protect their commercial interests, in order to protect their commercial transactions, in order to ease the financial transactions, they set up the bank in Calcutta. What do you call? Bank of Calcutta. Okay, now present it is Kolkata, but initially it was Calcutta. Okay, Bank of Calcutta was founded. It was renamed as Bank of Bengal. Okay, you people are already aware Calcutta was the capital of West Bengal. Okay, so West Bengal, this West Bengal under Britishers include present day Bangladesh, Orissa, Bihar, and West Bengal. So this region is collectively called as Bengal. So in the year 1806, the Bank of Calcutta was founded. Okay. Later on, the bank was renamed as Bank of Bengal. In the year 1840, Bank of Bombay, yes, one more important city, commercial city. In the year 1843, Bank of Madras was set up. So they realized the importance of banking. To protect their commercial interest, to ease their commercial transactions, they have set up their banks in three important regions of the country: Bombay, Madras, and Calcutta. See, 1806 Bank of Calcutta, 1840 Bank of Bombay, 1843 Bank of Madras were set up. In the year 1865, Allahabad Bank. Yes, Allahabad Bank. This point is very important. Okay, why it is important? What's there in Allahabad Bank? This Allahabad Bank was the first bank exclusively set up by the Indians. Okay, so if you observe the first three banks, they were set up by whom? Britishers. Why? To protect their commercial transactions, commercial interest. Okay, to ease the financial transactions. But in the year 1865, our Indians realized the importance of banking, convenience in banking transactions. So they want to develop on the lines of Britishers. Hence, they also want to start a bank. What do you call? Allahabad Bank. So Allahabad Bank is the first bank exclusively set up by Indians. Okay, next. In the year 1895, Punjab National Bank was also set up. Punjab National Bank. In the year 1895, Punjab National Bank was set up. So Punjab National Bank headquarters is located at Lahore. Lahore is in present day Pakistan. Okay, so you people have already gone through the 10th standard books. India is a subcontinent. India have the features of continent. Why? Because India is a vast country under Britishers. India includes Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, okay, all these parts. So Pakistan was a part of India before 1947. So this bank was also set up on Indian subcontinent. Lahore is in Pakistan. Okay, next. Now, 1921. In the year 1921, what happened? Bank of Bengal, Bank of Bombay, Bank of Madras. Three important presidency banks were integrated. Integrated is nothing but merging. Integration is nothing but merging. So These three banks, Bank of Bengal, Bank of Bombay, Bank of Madras, were integrated into a single bank. Into a single bank. It is nothing but merging. You can say this is the first merging in the Indian bank history. Okay, probably, right? So in the year 1921, Bank of Bengal, Bank of Bombay, and Madras were integrated into a single bank known as Imperial Imperial Bank of India. Now, what is imperial? Imperialism. Okay. So, colonial bank. Okay. So, these three banks were set up by the Britishers, what we discussed in the last slide. These three banks were integrated, these three banks were merged and renamed as Imperial Bank of India. Imperial Bank of India. Okay. 1935. In the year 1935, RBI was set up. RBI was set up. Reserve Bank of India was set up. Okay. Now, under which act? RBI Act 1934. This RBI Act 1934, what is the background? What are the recommendations? Who made these recommendations? Everything we will discuss precisely in the next session under RBI, Reserve Bank of India. Okay, next. Sorry. In the year 1955, Imperial Bank of India was transformed into State Bank of India. Yes. See, this bank. So, what was the background of State Bank of India? What was the background of State Bank of India? State Bank of India was previously Imperial Bank of India. Imperial Bank of India was previously Bank of Bengal, Bombay, and Madras. Means the present day State Bank of India have the colonial origin. Colonial origin means they have roots in British time. Okay, so these three banks were set up at the time of British, and these three banks was integrated, merged into one single bank called Imperial Bank of India. And after independence in the year 1955, Imperial Bank of India was transformed into SBI, nothing but State Bank of India. So our present day banking have roots in British. You can trace the roots of the British, right? So we have the link, right? So you can conclude that our modern day banking was totally based on European banking system, probably Britishers, mostly Britishers. Next, yeah. So this is the background of banking in India. So far we discussed, okay, banking in ancient India, banking in medieval India, banking in modern India. How banks are transforming from money lending activities to other activities, unorganized methods to organized methods. Okay, so it is nothing but evolution of banks in India from ancient period to modern period. Now we are going to discuss what exactly is a bank, what is the meaning of a bank, what are the functions performed by a bank. Now, first we'll see the definition. When you see the definition, you have to focus on keywords of the definition. When you understand the keywords of the definition, automatically you will understand the concepts. In any definition, if you observe, majority of the words are connective words, which is not important, and the, this, and all. But in the entire definition, you have to focus on keywords, and you have to understand those keywords, which are very important. Now, first we will see the meaning of bank. We will read the definition, and then we will discuss each and every word, so that you will understand the concepts in banking. What exactly is a bank? What is banking activities? What are the functions performed by the bank? All these things we will discuss in one single definition. So pay attention on this definition, right? See, what is the meaning of a bank? An establishment authorized by government, to accept deposits, pay interest, clear checks, advance loans, act as an intermediary in financial transactions, and provide other financial services to its customers. So now we will elaborate each and every term in the definition. So first one, what is the meaning of a bank? An establishment is nothing but a shop, organization, institution, something. Okay, next, authorized by government means this so-called establishment is authorized. This establishment must take permission from the government. Okay, so in order to perform these activities, the so-called establishment must take permission from the government. An establishment authorized by government for to what? To accept deposits. To accept deposits. So to accept deposits. See, this is the bank. This is the bank. Now, customer. So, what is the main function of the bank? To accept deposits. Means from where banks will get money? Customers, from its customers. Customers used to save their money with the banks. So, government has given permission to the so-called establishment called bank to accept deposits from whom? From public, from citizens, and pay interest. Pay interest means what? Bank is paying interest to customers. Why? They are holding their money. Okay, so banks are paying interest to customers. Clear checks. A check is a negotiable instrument. Okay, you have to pay on demand. On demand. Suppose I am going to bank, check issued by Mr. X or Y. I have to take that check to the bank and have to show to the teller or cashier so that I can collect money. Okay, so clear checks. One of the main function of the bank is clearance of checks. Clearance of checks. By taking checks, they used to issue currency to me, whatever be the amount mentioned on the check. Right. Next, advance loans. Advance loans. So, important function of the bank. See, advance loans. So, advance loans means what? Banks are accepting deposits and they are giving loans. Okay. So, what is the profit to bank here? From this is a bank. Okay. This is bank. They are accepting deposits from the customers. Okay. And they are giving loans to the people who are in need. So, this is the bank's primary objective. Accepting the money, giving loans. Accepting deposits, giving loans. This is the very primary objective of the bank. They are taking from the money surplus people. They are taking money from the money surplus people and they are giving to the people who are in need. Okay. So when they are taking money from the people, they are paying nominal interest, say 3 to or 4%. When they are giving loans, they are charging much higher rate, means 6 to 8%. The balance, the remaining is the profit. What do you call? Spread in banking. We will discuss these words in the next sessions. So the primary function of the bank is to accept deposits and to give loans. Surplus money they are taking and giving to the people who are in need. So they are charging high interest rate from the loans. Okay. So advance loans act as an intermediary in financial transactions. Intermediary between payee and payer. Bank is an intermediary. Okay, and provide other financial services to its customers. Other financial services could be issuance of checks, issuance of ATMs. Okay, what in the modern day, what do you call NEFT? Okay, all these terms. So whatever be the financial transactions, apart from giving money, okay, taking money and giving loans, other financial transactions also banks can perform. So the main function of the bank is to accept deposits, pay interest, clearance of checks, issuance of loans. Okay, acts as an intermediary in financial transactions and provide other financial services to its customers. Okay, so all these activities performed by a bank collectively called as banking activities. So the activities which performed by the bank, okay, activities which performed by the bank are called banking activities. Okay, banking is an activity involves acceptance of deposits and lending or investment of money. Same what we have dealt. Okay, what I explained is the same. Acceptance of deposits, lending of money. Okay, next slide. Now, banks versus money lenders. Now, in ancient India, most of the people are money lenders. Even though we don't have the presence of banks, these money lenders used to perform the activities of the banks. Okay, the term bank was introduced by the Europeans, like after modern India. Okay, so before the advent of Europeans, we used to perform all the activities of the bank, but all those were in unorganized way. So money lenders were perform the activities of the banks. Who are money lenders? In the first slide we discussed Shettis, Shaukars, Shroffs, etc. All these were money lenders. These money lenders, okay, used to perform the activities of the bank. Now here we will see what is the difference between banks and money lenders. In the process of evolution, money lenders were totally shifted. Okay, we adopted the modern techniques in banking. Okay, adopted the modern techniques in banking. So if you see, even today in India, you can find some money lenders who are involved in this money lending activities. So first we have to see what is the difference between banks and money lenders. Why should I go to the bank? Why should I go to the money lenders? What is the difference between both? Okay, we'll see. Bank is an organized one. Organized one. Money lenders are unorganized. Money lenders are unorganized. Okay, money lenders are unorganized. Unorganized. See, banks are organized institutions. Money lenders are individuals. Okay, banks are organized. Organized means what? They have timings, they have professionalism, they will follow rules and regulations, they will go according to the guidelines, they know do's and don'ts. Okay, they have given utmost priority to the lending activities. They follow kind of professionalism, they'll follow rules and regulations. Whereas money lenders, they don't have all these things. They have their own rules. Rules are different from money lender to money lender. So when coming to rules, all the banks have uniform rules. All the banks have uniform rules, whereas money lender rules are different from person to person. Okay, so hence money lenders are individuals, banks are institutions. Banks are institutions. So in India, banks are governed by RBI, Reserve Bank of India. But what about money lenders? There is no such organization. There is no such organization. Next, banking activities include acceptance of deposits, what already we discussed, as lending of money. Activities of money lenders may not include acceptance. Yes, this is very important. Yeah. So what is the difference between banks and money lenders? Banks are accepting deposits from the general public. Money lenders may accept, may not accept. The money lenders may give loan, may not give loan. May give interest, may not give interest. Okay. So the primary difference between banks and money lenders is banks are accepting deposits. That is acceptance of deposits. In case of money lenders, they may accept deposits, they may not accept deposits. Okay. We don't have any clarity. There is no uniformity. Okay. Next, banks accept tangible and personal. Banks accept tangible and personal security. Now, what is tangible and intangible? So, tangible, which you can touch personally, physically, which you can see, which you can feel, which you can touch. Okay, which you can see. Asset is a tangible. Okay, assets are tangible assets. Intangible means goodwill, your character. Your character cannot touch. Okay, your character, your goodwill, everything is intangible, which you cannot see, which you cannot feel, which you cannot touch. Okay, so here banks will give loans based on your tangible assets. What do you have? Security. What do you have as security? Gold, buildings, assets. Based on your character, banks cannot leave. Banks cannot give loans. Banks cannot lend loans to the public based on their character, their goodwill. First, they'll see the surety, security. Okay, so banks accept tangible and personal security against, what are the assets here? Loans. Okay, personal against loans. Here, money lenders generally accept gold, jewelry, or land as security for giving loan. So, both in banking and money lending, both banks and money lenders will see security. Personal security is very important in order to give money. Okay, in the lending procedure, personal security is very, very important. These personal security includes tangible assets, gold, securities, land, buildings, etc. Okay, so one thing is common in both money lenders and banks. Next, interest charged out by banks on loan is governed by RBI. Yes, all the banks in India are under RBI. Okay, rate of interest is decided by the money lenders and normally very high. This is very important. Money lenders will charge high rate of interest compared to the banks. Okay, why? See, in India, banks are regulated by Reserve Bank of India, right? So, Reserve Bank of India will issue a guidelines. Every bank must follow the interest rates. They should not go beyond the RBI guidelines. Here, on the other side, money lenders are free. RBI is not controlling money lenders. So what money lenders will do? Money lenders will charge high rate of interest. Okay. So the other difference between bank and money lenders is rate of interest. In case of banks, the interest rate will be little bit lower. In case of money lenders, the same interest rate will be very high, high to very high. Okay. Next, we'll move to next slide. Hope you understand what is the difference between bank and money lenders. Okay. Next, what is the role of banking in the modern day? What is the role of banking? Now, what kind of a role a bank plays in the modern day, modern economic development? See, We'll discuss one by one. So what is the important objective of bank? What is the important objective of bank? It encourages saving habit among people. I'll stand here so that you can see me. Yeah. It encourages saving habits among the people. Yes. The primary objective of the bank is saving habits. Okay. When you have money, see, Mr. X is getting 10,000 rupees of salary. After spending 7 or 8k, he is having some 2 to 3,000 in hand. Okay. If he saves the same 2 to 3,000 in his house, nothing can yield. He can't get anything. Okay. If you deposit the same money with the banks, okay, small savings, okay, the bank can utilize that money for nation development. How nation development? When you store the money with the banks, when you store your money with the banks can give this money to people who are in need. The loan takers, the businessman can utilize that money for the economic development. They can provide employment. So overall, when you are saving your money with the bank, it leads to nation development. Okay. So don't save your money in your house. Okay. Save with the banks. So it encourages saving habits among the people. Okay. Organized trade. Next, it acts an intermediary between people like depositors and loans. Okay. It provides loans and advances like loans. Okay. So when you give loans, when bank give loans, the loan takers, okay, when bank give loans, the same amount will be put up in some kind of industry, small scale industry or cottage industry or infrastructure projects, big industries, whatever. When industrial development is taking place in a country like India, okay, it leads to creation of employment. Okay. So in order to create employment, capital formation is very, very important. In a nutshell, these savings can create capital formation in India. This capital formation can shift to industries so that they can expand industries. It will create employment. It will eliminate poverty in India. Thus, if you save the money with the banks, it leads to decrease of poverty, increase in employment. Okay. Next, it helps in nation development. Yes, exactly what we discussed. It helps in nation development by providing credit in farmers. Yes, banks can issue loans to the farmers. Okay, small scale industries are nothing but like cottage industries whose volume is very less, can create more employment. Mostly handmade industries these are. Okay. Next slide. Now, types of banks. What are the types of bank in India? Any modern country you take, in the modern economy, any country you take, there are some kinds of banks to perform certain functions. Now, what are those banks? Central bank. Yeah. What is central bank? The central bank is the apex institution in the country. Apex means top level. See, this is a pyramid. This is a triangular pyramid. This is apex. This is base. So, in the entire Indian banking system, RBI is the apex bank in the country. RBI regulates the banking system of the country. Okay. Now, types of bank. Central bank. In India, RBI is the central bank. RBI is the central bank. Commercial banks who involve in commercial activities, taking deposits, okay, giving loans, advancing loans. Okay. These commercial banks are again divided into two types: private sector, public sector banks. We will discuss separately in the next session. Development banks. Okay. Development banks are nothing but in order to develop infrastructure, in order to create employment, okay, in order to create industries. This development of a nation. Okay. Same, we will discuss these development banks elaborately in the coming sessions. Cooperative banks, specialized banks. Okay. So we are going to discuss these banks elaborately in the next sessions. Okay. Thank you, friends.